Okay. One Piece Chapter 1090 is out. A lot earlier than we expected, but either way it's out. And so we have to talk about it per usual. And there's quite a bit to talk about. I gotta start off with the cover story because it has my boy Captain Kuro. I know I haven't talked about this a lot, but back when I was reading One Piece or catching up to One Piece, I really liked Captain Kuro. I didn't like his idea or his plan at the end of the arc, but I liked the character. So seeing in the cover art request, I wish it was a cover story, but it is what it is. Now to the chapter. This summer is almost coming to an end, and going out with your friends to all kinds of events or parties can get very costly. So today I want to talk to you about something that hits close to home for many of us. You know that feeling. Dave is the banking app that helps you get up to $500 in just a few minutes with extra cash. And the best part? No interest, late fees, or credit check. Imagine having more money in your pocket to fill up your tank, finally get your car repaired, or catch up on bills. Dave gives you the financial relief you need without having to wait for your next paycheck. I'm not the only one who thinks Dave is a game changer. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app and experienced the peace of mind that comes with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch and need that extra help, download Dave today and think of it as a helping hand from future you. To get started, just go to dave.com/BDA and sign up for an extra cash account. You could get up to $500 instantly. That's dave.com/BDA, and for terms and conditions, check out dave.com/legal. This year, let's face unexpected expenses head on and take control of our finances. Dave is here to help you start the new year off on the right foot. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. I'm not gonna lie, initially when I saw the chapter with Luffy basically making demands, it felt like a multiverse. I was like, Luffy, that's the one they chose. Okay, they didn't choose for him to start negotiating, but that's the one who's making these demands, saying he's gonna hold York captive. It's like, this doesn't feel like Luffy. Towards the end, when he started muttering off how many people are murdered or hurt, I was like, okay, that feels like Luffy. So I did enjoy that a lot. I liked how they had to reel him back in. And the entire chapter, for the most part, different straw hats saying Luffy, 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 where he's a Yonko now, right? Which is insane to say. He's a Yonko, but he's still the aloof, goofy character that he's always been. So even in these positions of power, where a lot of people are looking to him for decisions, let's be honest, not a lot of people are looking to him. They're looking to like Nami and Sanji. Where's Zoro, by the way? I remember seeing Zoro this chapter. Either way, I thought that was hilarious because it shows like Luffy is elevated and he's in a position that he probably isn't ready for, but either way, the position is here. He's a Yonko. It's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. But like I've always said, Luffy doesn't have to be perfect because he has people around him that can not be perfect for him, but fill in the gaps in regards to things that he's not great at or that he doesn't excel at. So I did enjoy that. I enjoyed that a lot. Saturn. He basically told us things we already knew because we knew for the most part, the World Government, they had priorities, but he just outlined them. The priorities were basically taking care of York because of what she can do for them. Secondly, the Punk Records, which is the brain of Vegapunk. And third, the fusion plant, the power plant, the fusion reactor, which basically holds the mother flame. So they're really keen, or they're keying in on things that they need or things that are priority to them. And now we know what they are, which we pretty much figured, but having it outlined, it was good to see. Something we also have to take heed of is the fact that big news, he's very aware of what's happening on Egghead. So anything that happens, I don't think a cover-up can happen because big news, he knows what's going on. And so this makes me scared for Kizaru, and I'll mention why towards the end, but he's tapped in, right? He's tapped in saying, what am I hearing? But here's the crazy part. Luffy said, we're allied with Vegapunk, but if you care about York's life, you gotta pull out. That sounds a little crazy, but you gotta pull out your entire fleet. So that's telling me, one, you're allied with Vegapunk, but if you care about Vegapunk's life, you'll pull the fleet out. So if you're just hearing this, if you know who York is, I guess it adds context. But if you just hear he's allied with Vegapunk, it's like, okay, cool. So then Luffy and the news put out there isn't really what is true, right? So it's dispelling some of the things and it's confusing everybody else because people just listening in to what's going on. So it's not Oda trying to confuse the audience per se. It's making things more confusing for people listening in. Because if I was listening in and I know who York is, as far as York being Vegapunk, I'd be confused. I'm like, yo, what? You're allied with Vegapunk? But anyway, let's move on. When Saturn mentioned the priorities, the first thing I thought of was Rob Lucci. And when I went to read the chapter, I saw that Rob Lucci was the first person that was actually mentioned, where it's like, yeah, we care about Rob Lucci, but there are things that are a bit more pertinent to us right now, which makes sense. Rob Lucci is a valuable agent, but things are crazy right now. And it'll be crazier if they lose the Mother Flame, if they lose York and the fusion reactor. So well, I guess the Mother Flame is a fusion reactor, but Punk Records as well. So they don't want to lose Punk Records. They just want to get rid of Vegapunk because Vegapunk betrayed them for the most part. Saturn called human beings insects. Now, we knew the world government thought that way, where they don't really view people. It's basically like, if I can save a lot of people and I just have to kill a few, then so be it. But for them, it's about them and their power and their reign. It doesn't really matter about the people. The people just pawns to move on the chessboard. And we knew that, but him just confirming this, Doberman reacted, he was like, just Roger, you know? And that's the tough part about being a Marine. You just kind of have to follow orders till you're in a position to basically decline those orders or alter those orders, like Kizaru was in this chapter. We'll talk about that as well. I'm pushing a lot of Kizaru stuff back because that was the title of the chapter. We didn't get a lot of Kizaru stuff towards the end of the chapter. So I'm just doing what Oda did to us. I'm sorry. He did to me, I do to you. Just how it is. York is banking on the fact that she had to deal with a Gorosei, and so she has a lot of leverage, so they're not going to do anything to her. Whereas, like, these are Straw Hats. They don't operate based on logic. So you need to calm down. Something that happened in the chapter with it's a small thing, right? Nami and Robin, where Robin is just telling her, calm down, chill out a little bit. Some of the best chapters in One Piece revolve around conflict and the Straw Hats having conflict. I would like to see Nami and Robin somewhat disagree on not only the direction of the crew or where the crew is going, because that's Nami's wheelhouse, or just treatment of a certain individual. Again, Oda's not going to go that deep in regards to the Straw Hat dynamics, because for the most part, he keeps it jovial, keeps it light. Arguments rarely happen. When they happen, they're entire plot points. But that's just something I would enjoy seeing, just because I know we got out of the last conflict between the Straw Hats. And so every time there's conflict, like real conflict between the Straw Hats, it's peak. And I guess that's why I would like to see it. Not saying it's necessary, just a personal thing, right? Also, since we're on Robin, when did she get hurt? Are we missing something? Is that even Robin? I know. We're going to say this a few more times throughout this review, but of course, Oda skipped things, and now I'm pretty confident Oda's going to go back and give us context in regards to a flashback. Maybe when he gets to a chapter, he's like, I don't know what to draw here. Let's just show what happened back on Egghead, right? Because that's in the bag. That's in his back pocket, showing what happened. Because with Robin being hurt, I don't remember Robin getting hurt. So I don't know. He's gonna show more context. He's going to 100% give more context into what happened so that we can understand, hey, not much really went on, but I want to show you what happened. And again, it may feel like filler, but a lot of people I saw, they were saying, yo, Oda, I want to see what happened. You're skipping around. But we got some of the same complaints back then. So, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I would like to see what happened now, because what's going on with Robin, even with Bonney, I'm kind of suspicious, but yeah, we're pushing that back too. Now, it's never gonna be just sane or normal for me seeing Rob, Lucci, and Kaku just mingling with the crew. Knowing the history between these characters, never gonna be sane. And Rob Lucci, he's plotting something. Not sure. When they were talking about the Seraphim and then Wrath being like, or Edison and Lilith, it was awkward, because it's like Rob Lucci's right there. When he first pulled up, Atlas got freaking stonewalled by Rook Hogan, right? So it was like, let's hope they don't remember that. That was funny. Come on, that was funny. The chapter's transitioning smoothly, just giving us updates slowly but surely, because we see the Seraphim as well. And every time this happens, guys, you can tell me if this happens to you as well. Every time I see the Seraphim and they talk in like full sentences, I'm like, whoa. They can talk, but they've talked before. But every time I see them, I'm like, yo, they can actually speak. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it a mission of mine to go back and very keenly look at every S-Hawk action, interaction, reaction to somewhat get more of Mihawk's personality, because S-Snake is a lot like Boa. And so the lineage factor, like Vegapunk, he's, theorizing that a lot of their traits and personalities got passed through the lineage factor. And clearly that's happened, because Jinbei, a man of few words, S-Hawk very prideful, S-Snake very arrogant, right? And Kuma not saying much either. Those two, that's Jinbei and Kuma, they don't speak. So it's like, I think Oda's giving us a bit of their personality through these Seraphim, and I wonder if he's dropping hints about Mihawk and who he is in his Seraphim, because when we saw him, he wondered about Zoro and him being a monster. He was a bit scared, right? He's a bit scared. And also he was trying to pick off the weaker ones. So I'm like, is this telling us about Mihawk's character or underlying things about Mihawk? Again, I don't think Mihawk's scared of anyone, right? Not even a guy with red hair. I don't think so. But I thought it was really interesting that the Seraphim, I wasn't looking at them as people. Now I'm starting to, which feels like the purpose. Also, Luffy falling in love with Hancock as well, or S-Snake. Gotta stop calling her Hancock, because when they're in the same vicinity, it's gonna get confusing. So S-Snake, her falling in love with Luffy, no one was shocked about that, right? Like, we all knew that was gonna happen. So when that happened, it's like, yeah, that's Luffy. That's what he does. That's S-Hawk. That's S-Snake. She's based off of Boy Hancock. It's that's just meta. You know what I mean? Something small is so small, but I like when Jinbei chimes in. Just gives, you know, a quick one-off about what he thinks about the situation, because he's kind of the calming voice among the Straw Hats. Out of all the Straw Hats, he's the most sane. He's the most normal. No quips, no gags, just the most normal. The thing is, he's like a dad, an uncle, right? A great uncle of the crew. So I like his input. I do. And him talking about Luffy and just how she looks down on everybody except Luffy, it just reminds me back to just Amazon Lily, Impel Down, Marineford. Like, Hancock rides for Luffy, bro. So I can't wait to see them interact again. It's gonna be more of the same, but it's just moments like that I love. You know what I mean? They're now coming up with a plan. Again, York has a password, so they can't really open the dome. But of course, all the punks, they're putting their brains together to overcome York, because York, she's not sharing this information, which Vegapunk, you should have come up with a failsafe where if your satellites don't want to share information, you can force them to. But rather, they're putting their heads together to overcome or find out the password so they can do this stuff. But they're planning to escape. And the whole plan is basically to go the other side of the dome or head towards the northeast from the other side of the island, use the Vega Force, and then use coup de burst, whatever. Seems like a sound plan, but if you disable the barrier, of course, that's going to let people in. So you got to do some fighting at least. You can't just run away, because your protection is your defense as well, right? So it's tough. Lilith in this chapter remind me a lot of Carrot. Remember Carrot when she wanted to leave with the crew, or when she was leaving, she was so excited because she had never left before. And Lilith, I do think she goes. I think Lilith and Stella goes. The others, I think they die. I don't think anybody else goes. We can't have all these people on the crew, on the ship. But I enjoyed that, because what Lilith is feeling right now is the embodiment of One Piece, the adventure, just the excitement of going out to sea. And so her feeling that way, even Frankie tried to rain on her parade a little bit, saying it's not a picnic. Okay, for her, it's exciting, right? And it reminds us of like our first journey to One Piece. So I do like seeing characters getting that mode. Like, she was like blushing about just, yo, I get to go out to sea. I've never left the island. It's small. It's a lot of small things in this chapter that I really liked, that aren't just, you know, gigantic plot points, but they're moving me in regards to the story, because it's just reminiscent to so many different things that I've enjoyed in One Piece up until this point. So I love it. Now Bonney, I mentioned Bonney earlier. Luffy said her mood has gotten better, and it's weird. So here's my thing. For Bonney, when we met her, she was already in a bad mood because she's worried about her dad. And then, so that's why she was mad at Vegapunk. She gets into her Vegapunk, basically fighting him. Then she goes and she gets the backstory or flashbacks through her dad's memories. So she was already in a bad mood. She sees her dad memories. We saw a bit of it where Kuma was getting beat up while he was younger. And after this backstory, maybe it ends well, or these memories, maybe it ends well, but she seems to be in a better mood after that. That's the only thing. It could have ended well, but it just feels weird. We can throw it out there right now. Bonney could be Katarina and Yvonne. You know where they are, because I'm presuming Katarina is here, but the Skull Dome barrier, or the barrier, was still up. So how would Katarina get in? Lafitte, again, I think he's with her as well. So, and he's a master of infiltration, as we've seen before. We don't know. Either way, I'm sus on Bonney. And I'm slightly sus on Robin, because Robin's hurt when it happened. But I'm not really sus on Robin. I'm just saying that because I don't know. I don't know. Rob Lucci then became a rat, that people were saying, which is not true. They're saying Rob Lucci became a rat because he snitched on the Straw Hats. Bro, he was never with the Straw Hats. He was just preserving himself. Self-preservation. That's it. So calling him a rat is crazy to me. He was just doing his freaking job. What are you talking about? So Rob Lucci basically told him what was going on. And now we have Saturn and Kizaru having a conversation. Probably the best part of the chapter, right? And so Saturn is telling Kizaru to manipulate the lasers because he's a man made out of light. And Kizaru said, that seems possible, but Vegapunk's guard is a friend of mine, Sentomaru. Saturn just says, well, you just have to ignore him. And he says, no, I can't ignore a man determined to fight for his duty. I will not betray my ideals. Now, this is turning things on his head, because people were just completely annihilating Kizaru last chapter. I didn't annihilate him, but I wasn't impressed by what he said, because he's just a cog in a machine. But I was understanding of what he said, because some people just want to be a cog. They don't want to be the leader. They don't want to be like slaves necessarily, but it just, all right, I'm a cog in the machine. I help things go. I'm content with that. But Kizaru, he's a cog, but he also has ideals. I guess that's what makes things unclear, right? Because I'm unclear on where his stance is on most things. Because your boy is a Kainu, you're serving the Gorosei, but you have ideals. And he said you can't ignore men determined to fight for his duty. So now I'm more intrigued. I want to know more about Kizaru, because this guy has become even more interesting in my book. And him having ideals and not betraying them tells me that he's a stand-up guy in situations. And in this situation, he's like, yo, I can't ignore it. He's standing on it, I'm gonna stand on it too. To the Gorosei, by the way. And he's the one that I think would fold in front of the Gorosei. But if it's something he believes in, his ideals, it is what it is. He did say, I'm just gonna stand on my ideals, but he also gave him more explanations as to why that doesn't make sense, right? The losses will be countless. Sentomaru can do different things. However, that was first and foremost. I'm not gonna do that, bro. So Kizaru, even though he's deployed when Celestial Dragon gets punched, right? He's willing to go to Wano if Akainu wants it. But if it comes to like hurting his boy or friend or ignoring his boy, he's like, I'm not gonna do that. Sorry. So he has a backbone. He has a spine. I like that a lot. Then he says this situation is getting more complicated. We then see the Vice Admirals. They're deploying. And I love the fact that Oda is having them look at least competent so far, right? Not much has happened, but they look decent so far. That's what I can say. And so they look decent. They look competent. Here's what I gotta say, though. Here's what I gotta say. Please, Oda, do not just have the Vice Admirals get completely annihilated. Have them be at least competent. The Vice Admirals, that stock is in the mud. And this isn't just about like admirals or it's about story continuity. And if all the Vice Admirals look trash here, when it's the final war, we're not gonna care about these people. Maybe even if they look decent here, we're not gonna care about them either way, but give them a showing. The Vice Admirals outside of Garp, I think even including Smoker, we don't respect the Vice Admirals. Let us respect them again, please. When did we respect? I think, I mean, when we found out Garp was a Vice Admiral, it was like we respected them, but then finding out that he declined Admiral promotion is like he's really an admiral, but he's just in a vice admiral position. Anyway, let's continue. Probably second best moment of the chapter for me, because the first moment was Kizaru and his ideals. Kizaru, Yata no Kagami, and just blitzing to Sentomaru. Now, people are gonna say, but Rob Lucci was able to no-dip Sentomaru when he was on guard. Kizaru clashes with Sentomaru. He says he has the strongest defense in the world, but then after that, Luffy says, oi, 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 someone very powerful is on the way. Now, listen, it's Oda showing us that this moment between Sentomaru and Kizaru has to happen. He can't just make it a Rob Lucci thing. And that's why I've turned around a lot on power scaling, because there's certain moments that I power scale, there's certain moments I don't. This Sentomaru moment versus Kizaru, I don't power scale. It's a canon event. This thing has to happen because it's gonna lead to more dialogue, more characterization for Kizaru, and even for Sentomaru. This moment is impactful. Rob Lucci and Sentomaru, they don't really have any interaction that's meaningful, so he can just one-shot him and keep going. For Sentomaru and Kizaru, we need a moment between them because that's his friend, that's his uncle, right? That's what he calls him. When we were introduced to Sentomaru, we got introduced to Kizaru, and so they've been tied ever since the introduction. Therefore, we need a fitting resolution between the two. It's almost like Kid attacking Apu because he betrayed him. It wasn't the most meaningful outcome because Apu was still running around after Kid attacked him, but we needed that interaction. This interaction was definitely needed because it's giving more feel of what? Sabaody 2.0. Oda is giving us moments, calling back to that to show us that, hey, the Straw is going to interact with Kizaru again. And it's going to be completely different. I made a video about it, right? Zoro is going to have his moment with Kizaru. But first, Luffy saying somebody powerful is arriving. People are comparing it to Green Bull, where Green Bull didn't have the Straw Hats phase. They were just sitting there watching him, where Kizaru has Luffy looking a bit scared, terrified. And I'm going to say this. I don't think Luffy's actually terrified. Right? I'm saying I don't think he's actually terrified. I think for him right now, it's just a moment to build Kizaru after the clash. Oda's like, okay, I'm going to have Sentomaru and Kizaru clash, but this moment with Luffy is just to let you know that he's still really strong. Don't look too much into that moment. Look into this one. That's what I think Oda's going for here. But really good chapter. A lot of underlying moments that I really enjoyed. Of course, the end with Kizaru getting the hype. Somewhat downplayed, but it's a canon event. Has to happen. And then getting hyped by Luffy saying, yo, somebody very powerful is coming. Now, people are speculating, what if Luffy's not talking about Kizaru and someone else is on the way? Okay, guys, this is crazy. But what if Akainu's on the way? What if Akainu's pulling up? I don't think so. I don't actually think so, but I'm gonna throw it out there just so people can speculate and talk about it. Either way, great chapter. I enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next one. One Piece chapter 1090. Again, we're on break after this one. So there's gonna be a 2-week break after this because this came out so early. So next week is gonna be the official chapter. Then gonna be a break after that, then a new chapter. So you guys just got to depend on me for a while, I guess, making content. Either way, I have a video where I'm talking about Zoro fighting Kizaru. You can click here, check it out. I think it's pretty good.